Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And this is my first episode of 2022. I took a little break because I wanted a little bit of rest and I wanted to rejuvenate my energy. So here I am again and with new enthusiasm and with new shows. So welcome back. So wherever from you're listening, let us know that where are you from, and let us know that what is the time, because around the world it is completely different. Somewhere it's morning, somewhere it's evening. So let us know from where are you logged into. And today's show is a little bit of different because it's all about auditing, finance, and a lot of people are actually hesitant when they think about finance, numbers, auditing. They are more scared of the process. So today I have invited a guest who is an experienced auditor and who also thinks along the same line that we are not only about to follow the process, we need to add the human touch to auditing and finance, so it can be more fun and people are more less scared about it. And he is the director of let me see this, yeah, so he channels the process so the auditor asks the right question, and he's so passionate about the corporate audit. And just like before logging in today into the show, he was saying that he also hates number. So but he loves the process and he wants to make sure that people who follow the process do not hate the same number and processes. So I'm sure that today's discussion will be amazing, and let's welcome Robert Berry. Hello, Robert. Thank you so much
Hey,
for joining us today.
well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, how are you, and how's your day? I guess it's morning time, right?
It is 11:30 a.m. and I look, every day is a good day. I always say every day that you don't wake up dead is a good day. So,
Yes. Yes. That's definitely it is a good day. So, I have given a little bit of introduction, but tell us a little bit more about yourself so our audience get to know you better.
yeah, I've spent the bulk of my career as an auditor, and I tell a lot of people I'm a certified public accountant, but I hate numbers. And it's true. I hate numbers. Numbers aren't what really drive organizations and what drive people to do better in life. It's people that drive people. And so in my business, I always say what we look at are the people, the processes, and then the profits, because people drive the processes and the processes drive the profits that you generate. And a lot of people try to take the people element out, and you cannot. So again, I hate numbers and I like people. And that's what I like to focus on are the people.
Yeah, yeah. So, but of course, you pursued a career in this field, right? So, how come you get into this career first, like when you hate the numbers? So,
So here's the thing. So the reason that I actually got into the career field though is because if you want to find out what's important to a company or to a person, look at where they spend either their time or their money. And I knew that I always wanted to help companies improve and be better. What better way to determine what's important to an organization is to find out where they spend their money. The way to find out where they spend their money is to understand the flow of money in the organization, and you do that from an accounting standpoint. But once you understand the numbers, then you can understand everything else that drives an organization. So that's really why I got into the career field. I knew I didn't want to just crunch numbers for the rest of my life, but I knew I needed to try and understand the numbers.
yeah, yeah. So, let's say hi to the people who are joining us from like Aditya saying hi, hello Aditya. Mustafa is also saying hi. He's from Kenya, logged in. Barakat Ali is from India. and Banita Lee saying hi, Robert, and hi, Maureen. So, hello, Banita, and thank you for joining. So, for today, and you can ask any question in between. So, whenever like you have any question, feel free to ask. So, coming back to the discussion, yeah, that's the main thing that as you said, people hate number, and I also, to be honest, I'm not good at numbers, and that is the reason why I also actually joined the field of psychology, because it is not dealing with that type of number, and basically it's dealing more with people. So otherwise, like I have a very great interest in physics. If I were really good at number, I would have gone for the field of physics. So tell us that why actually people don't like audit. I mean, because I remember when I used to be working with the corporate environment, like whenever there was a like audit about to start, there was a complete different air environment in the office. People were scared, they were have tension on the face, and this is like, it's like in auditors are going to come and the entire month would be, very like tense. So what is why people actually don't like audit?
I think that it's one of two reasons that people don't like auditors, and they're both on different ends of the spectrum. So no one likes to be criticized, and
Yeah,
an audit feels like criticism. And to a
yeah,
certain extent, it kind of is. So either something is wrong with you internally and you don't like to be quote unquote criticized, and that way you won't like auditors. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, while there are a lot of good auditors out there, there are a lot of bad ones out there, and bad ones can actually ruin the experience for someone who is emotionally mature. So emotionally mature people, they don't mind being audited because they don't mind someone coming in and looking at what they're doing and giving them an honest assessment. Emotionally immature people are intimidated, afraid, scared, nervous. So again, if you're emotionally mature, you don't mind being audited. The
yeah.
reason that you might not like audit is because you're dealing with some bad auditors. So it's one of those two reasons.
Yeah, yeah, and you're actually very correctly said that nobody likes to be judged, nobody likes to be criticized, and nobody likes to question about their way of working. So that is the fear. Actually, I think makes the entire auditing process more sort of fearful, or people are scared, not because of the process of the audit. They actually be feel scared because they will be asked question about the process, and they have been like sort of in their comfort zone, and like when people ask them why did they do this, what is the reason behind, and maybe like there could be some mistakes by them, and if when they are pointed out about the mistakes, so nobody likes it. So that gives us another question, that how do you tackle this problem, because it is, of course, your task is to identify those loopholes, those points where where you feel that it should be rectified. So how do you deal with the people, especially when, how do you tell them that this is their mistakes?
Well, and see, here's the thing. Here's one big way to really put people at ease. An audit is not about finding mistakes.
Ah, yes.
It's about finding the truth and whatever the truth is, because there is a such thing as having a good audit. If you go in and you look at something and everything is fine, then you should be able to say, we looked at it and everything is fine. And a
Yeah,
lot of people don't understand that. They think it's about finding something that's wrong. I don't necessarily want to find something wrong because that means there's more work for me to do,
yeah,
right? So the first thing is putting people at ease and getting them to understand that it's all about the truth. The second thing is there's a way to be constructive in any criticism that you might give. And some of us don't know how to be constructive in that. Because if you think about this,
yeah,
when you're at work, when people are working on a big project at work, what do they always say about that project? They say, this project is my baby,
yes,
right? This is my baby. And then if you come in and you're an auditor and you don't have any tact and you are very destructive in your criticism, it's almost like you're calling somebody's baby ugly. And who would call
yes,
somebody's baby ugly, right?
yes,
So it takes a lot of tact and a lot of honest feedback to really put people at ease. But again, these are people who have to be emotionally stable themselves. If you're dealing with people who are emotionally unstable, all bets are off, whether you're an auditor or an accountant or a salesperson or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I think you need to detach the process with their emotions. I think this is very important because, as you mentioned, like people get so attached to the project or to this, to whatever like they're doing, that they are actually emotionally connected with it, and then you need to actually give them the whatever suggestion or whatever like your point of view is in a way that does not create a friction with their emotions. I think this is very important to deal with the people.
Yeah.
So tell us any story that maybe when you dealt with a very difficult client, and then you need to you tackled very in a different way. So if you can recall of any, you can share with us.
Oh boy, you know what? I've never had a difficult client in my
Oh
life. No,
wow.
I'm just joking. But
Yeah.
you know, I tell you what you just said was extremely important. You have to deal with other people's emotions. And I think the first thing you have to do is acknowledge the emotions that they're having, because no one's going to move forward until you at least acknowledge them, because people like to be seen. And sometimes that's the aggravating part, because you just want to skip past that part and get straight to, look, here's the issue. So I tell you, I remember one time we were looking at this department, and this woman was just, she was stealing. I mean, there's no other way to say it. She had stolen some things from the department. And so I remember going to her boss and saying to her boss, hey, here's what's happening. And I basically told him that this lady was stealing from him.
Oh,
Little did I know that she was one of his favorite people. Like they
oh,
were, yeah, they went out
yeah,
in the community and they volunteered at places. Apparently, they went to church together and things like that.
oh,
So when I initially told him that his favorite person was doing something bad, he then began attacking me. You know, how
yeah,
can you say this about her? She's the greatest person in the world. She's a pillar of the community. We all
yeah,
love her.
yeah,
Now, the one mistake that I made though was I kind of pushed back, like, no, she ain't the greatest person in the world. She's horrible. She's stealing from everyone. That,
yeah,
so now that was my mistake though, because I didn't at least acknowledge what he was feeling right then. Because really, what
yes,
he was saying to me was, I can't believe this person that I know, like, and trust is doing these bad things.
yes,
So if I had acknowledged that he was in a place where he had just gotten some news that was hurtful, and if I had let him sit in that for a little bit, I could have moved him from his feeling into addressing the facts. But I skipped his whole feelings and I just went straight to, nah, man. We
yeah,
even got her on video camera. What do you mean she isn't doing this? So
yeah,
so that was a lesson learned for me, that not everyone is rational. They start off in an irrational state, and you got to kind of work to move them from the irrational state that they're in to thinking logically and rationally.
yeah.
And once I learned that hard lesson, it became a lot easier to deal with this person. But initially, he was just mad at me. It was my fault that somebody he knew was stealing. So
Yeah.
like I made her do it or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's I of course, like people get offended because when they have been doing this work all together or all their lives. So like for example, if someone from the outside telling them that this is not right, or if they point out any person, especially like in your, as you mentioned, that if someone who is favorite of the boss or something, so like it's hard for them to believe because they have been perceiving things from their angle. And it's basically, I think here, most important thing is you need to make a ground before you start telling or giving them the feedback, rather than just jump into the conclusion that, okay, hey, I found this mistake and then here it is. So I think basically what most auditors usually, or the people who are actually the bosses who are giving the feedback to their employees, it's very important that rather than coming up directly to the main point, which is their fault or something, it is they have to make a ground, they have to prepare them to listen to their feedback, because I think this is extremely important. right?
Well, and the biggest part about it is here's what I try to train auditors on, or just anyone. People's processes are personal. If you're in charge of a process at work, it's personal to you. Like we just equated a process to being someone's baby, right? This is my baby. So now, if this thing is personal because you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on it, you've got to be able to acknowledge the personal piece in it for someone and then help move them along the way. But that's the most important piece, acknowledging that people's processes are personal.
Yes, yes. Okay, so like as I was going through the profile, and it's basically your about section also. You mentioned that you make people, make auditor ask right question. So how important it is to actually asking right question during the process of audit?
It is extremely important, and I tell auditors, if you can't ask the right questions, your career is over, because
Yeah.
that's the biggest part of your job. And by right, what I mean by that is asking questions that are open and objective. Don't come
Yeah.
in with your bias. I've seen a lot of auditors, they've been looking at this one department for years and it's been bad for years. And so the next year they come in with the preconceived notion that everything is going to be bad. No, you have to remove your bias. You have to be very open to exploring the information that you receive from people. But yeah, if you can't do that, then your career is over. But I would take it above and beyond just auditing. In life, if you don't ask the right questions, you will have a bad outcome in life. Choosing what career you want, choosing who to make your husband or wife, choosing what restaurant to eat at. Just every choice you make is a series of asking good questions.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think if like all the questions, all the answers are there, it's just the matter that we need to ask the right question. Because as Albert Einstein said that, when he's faced with any problem, he is spend like 90% of the time trying to find the like to make the to come up with the right question so he can find the answer. Because once you're clear in your head what you are looking for, it's easy to pinpoint what is there in the environment or something. So I think
Oh
the
yeah.
most important thing is like one needs to be clear in the mind. And I can so much relate because like my profession is marketing research. And whenever like the things whenever we I have a client whenever I have clients, I ask them that okay, what do they want? Because if they are clear in their objective, only then a research can help them find the answers to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and I remember talking about one time when I had gone on a job interview as a kid, and I just read a story in the news that the company was about to file for bankruptcy, right? So in the job interview, myself and a bunch of other people that I knew, we were interviewing for the same job, and in the
yeah.
job interview, I actually asked, "Hey, I just heard in the news that you guys were going out of business. Is this true?" Now, I think I actually made them mad because they didn't hire me. However, they did hire a couple of my friends. My friends didn't ask that critical question in the job interview because they didn't want to offend the people. And sure enough, shortly after they got the job, the company went bankrupt and they lost their jobs. See, the thing is, because I asked that question, if they had been honest with me and told me yes, I wouldn't have taken the job anyway. So oftentimes we know certain things instinctually and we're just afraid to even ask because we're afraid to offend someone. And we put ourselves on the back burner and we don't ask the questions that we need to ask.
Yeah, definitely. So, since you said that a lot of people are do not like numbers, they don't like to be asked questions, they don't like to be criticized. So, you are faced with like very difficult problem, like you're in the job which no one likes, and people do not sort of you can help you to when you ask for any information, they would be reluctant. So how you can add the element of fun to make it more lively, where people actually enjoy the process? Do you have any solution to it, or do you think that it's just the boring and it's like hopeless and
Here's the thing. It may not be fun, but I think the I think the key to it is to treat people like human beings with decency and respect.
Yeah.
I actually had one client tell me one time after we looked at his area and it happened to be really, really bad. I mean, it really was bad. But after it was over with, he told me, he said, "Look, man, I don't really like what you do, but I like how you do it." And it was
Mhm.
because we treated his people with decency and kindness and common courtesy. Not everything in life is going to be fun and not everything in life is going to be exciting. But I think as long as you treat people well and you treat people right, you can make the experience the best that it can be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, because I feel that okay, like there are things that needs to be done, whether you like it or not. I mean,
Hmm.
because this is the way it should be. But what we can do is we can add a little bit of human touch to it, which makes it more like you can empathize with people and makes it more relatable with everything and makes the people realize the importance of the process because of course without audit these corporate world and these companies cannot exist, and there has to be something that needs to check that whether they are following the right processes or not. So tell us a little bit about your way of doing, how your way is different from the rest of the auditors.
You know, I I don't know if at its core my my way of actually doing the process is different. I think that I'm different in the way that I talk to people and the way that I handle people because honestly, it is about being objective. So if I go into an organization, I just want to find out if you're doing things in a way that helps you. And so I start with that in mind. I'm here to help you out because if I go in and I audit you and everything looks great, then you look good. If we
Yeah.
go in and we audit you and some things need some improvement, then how can we all work together to help improve things? So my approach is always on how can we, and I use the word we because we're all on the same team. How can we collectively work better to make things better? Um, but as far as the mechanics, I mean, some of it just is what it is. I think I just have a different kind of personality, and that's what I bring to the table.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, like, as you mentioned that you hate numbers.
Oh,
So
I do.
how can you actually be in that field which deals with all the numbers? So have you simplified the process, or you're still just going it with
Well,
whatever it is?
the thing is, the numbers is the easy part. It's the people who are compiling the numbers that make that are the important piece of it. So while I hate numbers, I like dealing with the people, and so you talk to the people, and that gives you a better understanding of why they've done the certain things that they've done and how they've done the things that they've done. So
Yeah.
I think those people who just focus on the numbers, they're the ones who are hated because they miss out on the people element.
Yeah, that's actually make it different. I completely agree that because the thing is that numbers are there for a reason, and numbers are actually is numbers are an indication towards something. It is telling either because like if I can say that if like I'm from the background of the research and marketing, so like I usually get a like huge data about that what's going on in the market, and like you need to make sort of a pattern out of it. You need to find out that what's going on with the numbers. So I think that is the fun part that at least I enjoy,
Right.
that it's basically the numbers. Of course I hate it, but the thing is when you look at the broader picture, they give tells you a story, and that story is something that is the insight that you need to pick, that okay, yes, this is what it is telling. Maybe like the number 3030 doesn't tell you anything, like as in as like if it's there, but when it is sitting with the entire group of data, then you get to know, okay, this is either low, high, or what is actually the meaning of it. So I think that is what it is important about.
Exactly. And that's it. The numbers are just the means to an end. When you
Yes.
get the numbers, that's when the actual fun starts because you get to make a decision. So if you're sitting here and you're looking at your budget and you have more money than you thought you were going to have, that's more money that you can reinvest back into your business, into
Yeah.
marketing, into advertising, or giving your people a pay raise. If you find that there's less money than you thought, then oops, now you got to do some tightening. You may have to let someone go. You may have to cut
Yeah.
your marketing budget or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's where the exciting piece is, because now you get together and decide what you're going to do now that you know what the numbers are telling you.
Yeah, yeah. Because actually, the thing is that no matter how much we hate numbers, but when you see and when you look around, this is the maths everywhere. I mean, I would say that even when I was studying psychology, like I remember, like Freud said that, eventually when you are even studying emotion, it all ends up to the mathematics or the numbers. So, like it is even when we are understanding a human psyche, we see that if a certain amount of serotonin or dopamine is released in the brain, that affects our emotions. So, like, at the end of the day, we cannot escape number. And that's what my rationalization come from, like, no matter how much I hate number, I cannot escape it.
But here's the thing though. It puts you in a state of looking at things realistically. So picture a company where everyone believes in the company and they feel like it's a great company, but then you look at the numbers and you're not bringing in any revenue. Now you
Yeah.
know you've got to do something different. Either you need to increase your sales, or maybe your product is bad and nobody really
Yeah.
wants the product.
Yeah.
Maybe only your employees thinks that it's a good product.
Yeah.
So it helps you move beyond, okay, what are your hopes and dreams, and now what is reality? Now, if you want your reality to mirror your hopes and dreams, then you need to do something different. So I think
Yeah.
that that's the biggest point, um, between really looking at your numbers and analyzing what's happening in your business or even in your personal life. Like, for
Yeah.
example, right now, I wish I could be in Hawaii sitting on the beach, but my bank account is telling me that I don't have enough money to be in
Yeah.
Hawaii sitting on the beach. So, what do
Yeah.
I need to do? I need to make more money, or I
Yeah.
need to change my dream, right? One of the
Yeah.
two.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we need to be realistic and even thinking that, of course, I said that you need to have a big dream, but you need to make a realistic plan to reach to the goal. So, and we have to make it like a step by step, that how, okay, I want to be in the beach of Hawaii, but the thing is that how to do this? Maybe we need to work hard at the moment and then have that goal in our life. So
Well, and
tell us,
see,
sorry, no, go ahead.
well, I was about to say that's where the fun starts, though.
Yes.
Because just taking that example about me wanting to be in Hawaii, I could say to myself, well, you know what? I want to create something that I can sell that would bring in additional money for me so that I can now buy a house on the beach in
Yeah.
Hawaii. So now
Yeah.
that's where the creativity starts. But it all started because my numbers, my bank account showed me that I didn't have enough money to do what I wanted to do right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say I don't necessarily like numbers. I like what numbers drive you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers actually gives the insight, and that's what it gives the meaning to these numbers. And that's where the fun is, basically, when you make the story out of it, when you know that how what these numbers are telling you.
Yes.
So tell us that how an average auditor can become an extraordinary. So is there any recipe to success, or anything that differentiates an ordinary auditor from the extraordinary one?
You know what? I'll tell you. So I'll tell you the secret. Okay. You want to know the secret? The secret is to just have some empathy for people and be human. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, it really is just that simple. Have some empathy for people and be human and have open communication.
Yeah, yeah, that's I think in and that's what and that is the reason why I actually started this show, the Psychology Talks. It's basically in every field we need to deal with, like, whatever field we are in, we are dealing with people, and when we are dealing with people with the way they want to be, dealt with, that makes a person stand out, and that makes everything easy. We need to empathize, we need to add that, human touch in every field that can makes us stand out from the rest of it.
Well,
So
and the thing is too, I think we live in a world where people think, okay, at home, this is the way you act at home. And then as soon as you open the door and you step into the office, you're a totally different person. And that's
yes,
not true. You
yeah,
bring the stuff from home into work with you, and then you take the stuff from work home with you.
yeah,
And so you have to realize that people have emotions that they bring with them to work. They have emotions from work that they bring home.
yeah,
You have baggage that you bring from home to work. You have baggage that you bring from work to home. There is no real separation there like people would have you to
absolutely.
believe. And once you start to figure that out, you can start to deal better with people in the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we are not like people on different roles, a completely different personality. It's not like that.
Right.
Everything is, especially like the way my childhood is affecting the way that I'm speaking right now. So this
Exactly.
is how it is. It's like the entire, a human is not just a consumer or a customer or a client or an employee. That the person is a human being, and that person needs to be treated as a human being, not as just an employee, just as a customer or a client. And when we add this human touch, that makes us, I think, the differentiator from the other things.
Well, and
So
you bring up a really good point though when you said things from your childhood affect how you are as an
yes,
adult. I mean, realistically, if you look at us as adults, we really are truly just a mirror image of who we were as children. Just we
absolutely.
we're bigger, we're a lot taller. So,
Yes,
just
yes,
think about it. You see somebody in the workplace and they do something real crazy, and you're thinking, now why did you do that? Well, it's
yeah,
because adults were just big children. I mean, really.
yes. Yes, absolutely. I can understand. I can relate because a lot of people I do like give like voluntarily help people and give counseling, and I just quote from here since you brought up this discussion. So like I remember like I was providing a counseling to my friend. I mean to the person, she was having problem with the sort of like a fight with her husband, and he was like, we said like he's not talking to me, he's behaving awkward and something. And I said like, why, what is the reason? Maybe so the end up when I started discussing that we came up to the point that he just wanted her attention, and that's what happens with children as well.
Exactly.
When you don't give them attention, they start behaving weird. And that rule applies everywhere, to adult and to children. If you don't give them attention, they will do some weird things and to just gain your attention. And rather than you react to their behavior, try to find out what is the root cause of it, and then you'll find out that it is your fault that you are not giving the attention to the person at the first
Right.
place.
Well, and then what you find out too, though, is that most people, when they have these emotions, we do a terrible job of explaining to others why we feel the way that we feel. And
Yes,
that's the part where you get stuck. So we could feel like we want some attention from, our husband or wife or whatever.
yeah,
But instead of just saying, hey, look, honey, I wish you would pay me a little bit more attention, we
yeah,
do something crazy like act out or do something. I can't even think of anything crazy. What's something crazy someone would do? I don't
yeah,
know, hide your husband's car keys or something. I don't know.
yeah,
But instead of just being an adult, quote unquote, an adult, and saying, hey, look, I would like some more attention, we do things that are real silly and stupid. And that's the thing, just trying to figure out how to communicate your needs better to others. It's the same thing in the workplace, though. People come
yes,
to the workplace and they may fear, some people have a fear of abandonment, right? And so you come into
yes,
work and
yes,
you fear that the employer is going to fire you because you've had a bad couple of weeks. So now you fear being abandoned by your employer and you start to act silly in the workplace instead of
yes,
just telling your employer, look, I've been having a bad 2 weeks. I hadn't been feeling well, and I know I've been off. But
yes.
next week I should be better. We act out instead of being honest with what we're feeling.
Yeah, yeah, that is something that it's very important. Again, here it is the importance of having the discussions about the mental health, because a lot of people feel exhausted, stressed because of the work, and they are actually just feeling shy to, to speak out to their like mental state at that moment, because they may be worked out, they may be having the extreme stress because of the work. But if they don't tell it, if they don't speak out, it would cause them to, it will lead them to burnout. And that's why it's very important to actually speak about mental health issues at the workplace.
So let me ask you, how would you go about addressing that with someone at work? How would you go about telling your boss, "Look, I'm having a crazy day." Now,
Yeah, no, it's actually, it has to be technical, to be honest. First of all, we need to see that how much your boss is receptive to it. If the boss is not receptive, you cannot just tell that, okay, I am having stress because don't give me that much work I'm having. It wouldn't work. So again, as I actually mentioned earlier, that you need to make a groundwork before actually coming up to the actual problem. So, for example, if there is so much work and your boss is not understanding, so there are two things. Either you actually involve your HR and tell that, okay, this is the problem that is having, and then you also discuss with your boss. Secondly, then, okay, your boss is also a human, that you try to build a rapport with him first, and make him to the point that he or she is receptive to your point, and then tell your problem, and then tell them the situation, that it is too stressful, maybe that person needs a day off, or maybe that person needs another resource who can help them. So everything is done, I mean, it has to be done through a proper strategy, rather than just coming up like, I would say that don't be too spontaneous in telling your problems. It's just have a think about that, okay, why you are feeling, have proper evaluation about yourself, that okay, if you're feeling stress, what is the reason? Is it because of the work? Is this because of the home? And what are the changes in the responsibility? And then create a proper groundwork, tell your boss about it, and if the boss is not receptive, involve your HR. And even if the HR is not receptive, then look for another job, because that's the time to move on to another job.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that last one because sometimes you have to know when to give up. A lot of people
Yeah.
just keep trying and trying, and sometimes you got to know when to give up. Yeah,
Yeah, and Carmen has a very good point. Interacting with people give you the opportunity to show empathy and kindness, respect, and that's very true. Thank you for that comment. So, okay, so we are actually reaching to the end of the show. So, and since like if any of the audience have any question, please feel free to ask. And I would, in the meantime, I'll ask you to, like, maybe just give our audience one advice. That what would be the one advice would you give today to our audience?
ooh. Well, let's see. Now that depends. You want me to talk about one piece of advice on how to deal with being audited, or just any kind of random advice?
Since we are now talking about the audit and the finance, and so maybe like I would just say that give the advice about that, how to make the audit more acceptable by the people. And although you've already told us that we need
Oh,
to add some human touch or something, but maybe like just one advice to the audience today that sum up the entire discussion today.
you know what? Here's what I would say. This is what I'll say. If you are being audited, I think there's a way that you can handle it to make it the best that it can be for you. So I think the first thing you have to do is realize that no auditor wants to find something wrong, because, like I said earlier, that's more work for us. It's really all about trying to make the organization the best that it can be. So approach everything with an open mind and just be really honest and operate under mutual respect. Now, that's bearing in mind that the people who are auditing you are respecting you as well. So I think
Yeah.
if you go into it with an open mind and mutual respect, then everything will be fine. Because again, no one wants to find something wrong, because that really means that there's more work to be done.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
honesty, open communication, and mutual respect.
yeah. I think that's the brilliant advice that for the audience today. So, and with this advice, we wrap up our discussion today, and we say thank you to everyone who joined today. And we had a lovely discussion. Thank you, Robert, for sharing great insights. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I hope our audience did as well. Yeah.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, sure. So, anyways, so bye bye and thank you, and have a great rest of the evening.